And we're live. Welcome to another episode of the Common Podcast, where we speak upon common sense and realize it really isn't that common. Guys, welcome back to another episode. Thank you for all the support in the recent podcast. If you're new to the podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and almost anywhere else that you can find podcasts. If you want to pitch a topic feature on the show, the best way to do that is through Instagram. The handle is The Real Common Podcast. Right now, behind the scenes, we are actually live on Twitch. That's going to be the first link in the description. Believe me when I say this, this is the best way to experience the podcast because you get to message in the chat and engage while the conversation is unfolding. You get to have your live input and we get to respond to them. Right? It's a very spontaneous interaction. But today we're going to be talking about bullying. And for those of you that do not know, October is actually Bullying Awareness Month. So very exciting. And what I think we're going to be doing is tackling different types of bullying each week of this month. I think that's going to be a very good way to discuss bullying and bring awareness to it. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the host of the second podcast that I do, and his name is Saul Guido. Welcome back to the show, bro.
What's up, bro? How you doing?
I don't know why I had that mic thing down. It's a little weird, huh?
Did you really the whole time?
The whole time I had it down.
Looked like you were taking an order at McDonald's drive-thru, huh?
There we go, bullying me, bro. How do you know what I'm going? How do you not know what I'm going through behind the screen? You know, I can be having a tough time, and that was the last string.
I know you well enough to know you're not gonna let anything really hurt your feelings. I mean, I just said he looks like Timmy Turner, and that's pretty hurtful, right, to the average person. But I think you handle it well.
I'm glad you said that because I think that's what later on in the conversation, that's what I'm going to kind of want to tackle about things. There's certain barriers that you have, especially when you know the relationship and the tolerance of the actual person, right? You know how far you can take it. We'll take that we'll tackle that later on in the conversation. But right now, for the listeners, let them know what you do and where they can find you. Give a shout out to your podcast.
Yeah. Basically, what I do is exactly what you do, except it's more of like trendy topics that are hot during that week. So we tackle on all types of controversies, and it's more lighthearted. We joke a lot. We make fun of each other. Like it's very not as serious as this one, right? This one's real thoughtful, if you will. The other one's just kind of us just messing around talking. So if you want to find us, go ahead and just YouTube the Outlier podcast, or I'm pretty sure you'll put it in the description as well, right?
Always in the description.
Yeah, so just check us out and give us a sub if you want to be kind. That's it.
All right. Awesome. I want to start off this conversation with one question. Have you ever experienced bullying?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Really?
In elementary. It was actually pretty bad. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was this guy. I'll just say his name, right? Fuck it. Who cares? His name is Victor, and this guy. I don't know what's wrong with this guy, but he was always into fights. He was like known as the fighter, right? For some reason, he just didn't like me, I guess, or that's just what bullies do, right? They just don't like you, and there's one instance that sticks out to this day that I still think about was, do you know how it's hard to explain. Basically, there was a ramp that all the kids were lining up on, right? I was in that line, and he was walking on the other side of the ramp and just kind of said some shit, and I said something back, right? Like defending myself. And he keeps walking, and he spits at me, bro. Like he's hawked a loogie on me, right? And so like immediately, right, I like try to chase him, but I was just like too big. I couldn't fit through the railing, and he just ran. And I remember ever since then, like I was just like, fuck, man, like I should have beat his ass, bro. I should have went and found him and stuff. But yeah, that was probably the worst experience because it was very demeaning, bro, to get spit on, right?
Yeah, was this like a one case scenario thing, or is that
Um,
something that
no,
he
so,
like
no. So
that particular person?
this guy would always say stuff to me for no reason, and I'm a very quiet person, so I wouldn't say anything back. So it was more words, right? It wasn't really physical. Although he did try to fight me lots of times, and I just never wanted to fight, So I just didn't. But yeah, it was mostly, I guess you could say, emotional bullying, right?
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, that was probably the only time they got physical.
Do you think that you being quote unquote bullied, do you think that affected you then, or maybe altered something psychologically that maybe you would be a little bit different now, or do you think it wasn't that
Nah,
significant?
no, I think it fucked me up pretty bad, dude. If I'm being
Yeah.
honest, because I was always a very to myself, shy, quiet person, and this made me even more of a hermit, right? It made me feel validated for being shy and to myself because I was just always so scared of being judged. So it
Mm.
definitely only fed into the fact that I was a very introverted person. It just helped me become even deeper of a hermit for sure.
Do you you're describing it as hermit, and obviously that's somebody who is very timid and um, somebody who's very closed off and maybe not too confident in themselves is what I'm kind of taking off of that description.
Yeah.
Do you think you being quote unquote hermit maybe spoke out to this guy and made it seem like he could bully you? Like you came off as somebody that could be taken advantage of?
Yeah, for sure. Because I was always shy and timid, right? I just never said anything. When people would talk shit to me, I just wouldn't say anything.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's partly because of how I grew up. So, yeah, I mean, just being the shy person, obviously, a bully specifically, right? If they see that, if they see you're timid or weak, they're gonna obviously exploit that, and that's what happened. Sadly.
Yeah. You see, like bullies are interesting because I believe that bullies only bully because there's something that they're accommodating for, right? There's some type of insecurity, there's something that's going on at home. Maybe they've been taught incorrectly or groomed a certain way where they feel like they have to compensate for what they're lacking and then, um, take it out on other people in order to inflate their ego, make them feel better about themselves,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like it's very prevalent in the youth, right? Teenagers and elementary school, because a lot of kids are immature, right? And a lot of them are insecure. And so that's why they do these things in order to accommodate for it. Um, but like that's what I always tell people is if somebody's bullying you or trying to make fun of you, trying to belittle you, because the actual definition of bullying, and I thought I bring it up that way, we're not uh, just kind of guessing what bullying means here. And the Google definition is seek to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone, perceive them as vulnerable. And I feel like people only do that for the simple fact of inflating themselves and, yeah, again, accommodating for their lack of.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's gonna be very hard to find a bully that's a very handsome, strong, confident person. Like the bully's usually gonna be this overweight, fat, ugly person that's probably poor or going through something at home, right? Like their parents aren't always fighting or something, right? There's something wrong with that person to make them act the way they're acting. 100%.
That's funny. It kind of reminds me of some stuff, but that kind of goes against the stereotype of the jocks are usually the bullies, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we see that in the movies all the time. Like the jocks are the bullies, and I mean that is certainly there's certainly cases like that, right? But for the quote unquote jocks that are the bullies, there's obviously something going on behind closed doors, like going on at the home, whether they have an
Yeah.
abusive father, broken home, they're struggling financially, whatever the case is. There's so many different cases on why people reach out to harm other people. That's what essentially bullying is. Um, but yeah, I remember in high school, one of the most stereotypical cliche things happened it was so cliche, so stereotypical that it made me cringe. Like I just wanted to get out of the room. There was this quote unquote nerdy geeky guy in the class, and I played football. And so I had a lot of football friends, and I had a very small group, but nonetheless, I guess I belonged with the jock group, right? According to this kid. And this will all explain itself later on in the story. But I remember, I don't know how the argument started, but he starts fighting with this jock kid, right? And typically, the jocks are a little bit more well spoken than, I guess the nerdy guys. And I remember the kid got so heated that he started to yell at the jock, and that just made him look a little bit more ridiculous,
Yeah.
People start laughing. And I remember the rest of the class, he had his head down, he was just mad, school shooter mad.
Yeah.
And he sat next to me, right? And I remember I was just like, "Hey bro, you okay? Don't worry about it, people will forget about it, you get over it." And he's like, "I kid you not." "Don't talk to me. You're one of them." And I was like, "What do you mean I'm one of them?" It's like, "You're one of those stupid jocks," but super like cliche cringy. And I was so cringed that I didn't even want to defend myself. I just wanted to be out of the situation. I was just like, "Hey man, like, all right, like I'll leave you alone." But I can tell that kid was very prone to bullying, and that's probably why me trying to reach out to him, he probably believed in his head that nobody wants, like someone like him does not want good for me.
Yeah, he expected you to be just like them, right? Because that's usually what happens. I guarantee you, someone's try to be nice to him, and then like flipped the script and was like playing a joke, right? So he's probably thought that's
Yeah.
what you were doing. But since you asked me if I've been bullied, let me flip it and not ask you, have you been bullied, but rather, have you ever been the bully?
Sadly, yes, bro. I can't say that I've ever been bullied, but I want to say, looking back at it, I guess you can say I've had like bully tendencies. But I'm the reason why in the beginning of this conversation where I was like, there's usually something psychologically wrong or something going on behind closed doors with bullies, and that was me. Like I was a
Yeah.
troubled kid. I came from a broken home. My parents weren't really there, especially in like elementary years and all that stuff. I had a very like abusive uncle that would beat us up, and that's all I really knew. I grew up with my uncles, just hard guys that just slap me around, make fun of me, and I thought that's the way I was supposed to do. And part of me was kind of emulating that, but also I was kind of angry at the fact that other kids were so happy. I'm like, why are you like this type thing?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I remember getting in a lot of fights in elementary and trying to prove my, I guess, masculinity, even though that's kind of weird saying at that age, or trying to prove my competence and showing that I'm better than the person by puffing up my chest and belittling other people. I definitely look back and I regret it, and it sucks that I was ever like that, because I remember that one particular time I was working out. I had a workout buddy, probably like 5 years ago, and we were working out one day, and he's like, "Hey, bro, I was talking to my brother, and he asked me why do I work out with you?" And I was like, "Who's your brother?" And he told me, and he showed me a picture of him. I was like, I know him, but not really know him. He's like, "Yeah, bro, he said that you made his middle school years hell, man. Like he said you bullied him, and like you made fun of him in class and stuff like that." And I was just like, "Really, bro? Like I didn't even remember that." You know what I mean? I was like, "Man, bro, I'm sorry, like tell him I said I'm sorry." Like that younger me was very immature, and I was trying to make up for a lot of things that was going on behind closed doors, and tell him that you know that wasn't coming from a wholesome person, and that he shouldn't take all the stuff that I said back then as constructive criticism. obviously I can't take something like that back, but there's one of those moments where I realized that bullying can do a lot of harm to somebody without you even realizing it. I was going about my life not even knowing that I had affected this kid's
Oh
middle school
yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I look back and I just I'm not proud of that at all.
Yeah, man. I mean, how could you be, right? But I know
Hmm.
you well enough to know that you're not a bad guy. So it's very obvious that what you were going through is what caused you to act out. I mean, yeah, that makes sense, right? Your parents weren't there, and your uncles would, you know, beat your ass, So of course, all those things included, right? You're gonna go to school and not be normal. You're gonna act out of character, right? Because I,
Yeah,
I know you well enough to know that's not who you are.
yeah.
So good thing you grew out of it, right? And you didn't let your experience define you, right? Because I don't think you're a bully now, although some people would disagree. Um, but yeah, I mean, as long as you grew
I'm
out of it.
Yeah, I'm definitely very resilient, and I believe my temperament kind of handles bullying well. Maybe a little bit too well, where I see somebody else um, using tougher strategies on somebody else. I wouldn't identify it as bullying, but maybe somebody else will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So I guess my upbringing, my childhood, has that kind of conditioned me to be a little bit tougher in that sense, be okay with people kind of being tough on me and giving me tough, critical, feedback and stuff like that. Well, what I'm basically trying to say is that what what other people might identify as bullying, I might not identify as bullying.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to temperaments.
Yeah. So what's one thing that you think could have stopped you from bullying if like someone had did like stepped in and took action? What do you think would have stopped your bullying?
I think it all starts at home. I believe that bullying, if we're gonna make it stop, has to start at home. And I think that having a healthy, having a your parents having a healthy relationship is really the source of it all.
Yeah.
Having a very good father figure who's gonna teach you healthy masculinity, having a strong woman in the household who's gonna hold the house down and also show you how to be in tone with your emotions and how to express yourself, how to treat another lady. Um, because I believe again, bullying comes from the person being broken.
Yeah.
And if a child is never broken and is taught to love everybody, then we wouldn't have that problem so often. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's interesting. From my perspective, looking back at what I experienced, what I think would have helped is if I just fought the guy, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I think if I win or lose, like the fact that to kind of be free of like I don't care who you are or what you say, like I'm not gonna let you talk to me like that. I'm gonna just we're gonna fight. I think if I should have reached out to my parents because I know for a fact my dad would have said beat his ass. So if I had that okay to do it, like I think I should have done that because that would have freed me from worrying about running into this guy because I know I could do something about it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean is that bad advice? Because that's what I would tell somebody if you're getting bullied, like stand up to your bully, and
No,
fight him if
hundred
you have
percent.
to.
No, yeah, 100%. That'll humble a bully, right?
But it
I have a
depends
story.
too, right? Because if you're like some frail, like 135-pound kid, and your bully's like 200 plus pounds, that might not be smart, right? I'm saying
Yeah,
I'm saying that because I'm 6'3", well now, right? But I've always been a tall kid. I'm saying like I could have beat this guy's ass. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I should have done it. I think. But go ahead.
yeah. I have a story for that. Before I get into that, though, I think what you're talking about can help, but I think it's a very band-aid fix. I think that fundamentally if we go back to the source, again, back to the household, and we try to fix the things that are going on
Yeah.
before it happens, we wouldn't even have bullying to begin with.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even have that confrontation. It all comes down to the responsibility of the parents, is what I believe. You and I are at that age. Well, I'm already having a child, but I don't know if you're gonna have a child or not. But whenever you do
Hell
decide,
nah.
it's it's your responsibility, or for the listeners, it's your responsibility to make sure that you are the best example to your children on how to be a healthy individual. And then we wouldn't be having these little bullying problems or big bullying problems to the point where now 8.7 is responsible for the suicide rate. That's what bullying has accounted for, cyberbullying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have a story about, there was this bully on our bus, right? And so this was when I was in first grade. This is very important because I was young. I was in first grade, and then there was these twins, right? And I went to school with three cousins and my brother. So five of us, family members. And I remember this fifth grader. Keep in mind, he's 5 years older than me. There were twins. And these guys were the bullies of the bus, but they never really bothered me. I was very to myself. I would, sit alone. They never really bullied me, but for some reason they would try to pick on the weaker kids, I guess. And one time they started picking on one of my cousins, right? And she came to me crying, and long story short, he had kind of been picking on her, and so we kind of went to one of my uncles, and he's like, no, y'all need to defend each other. Like, y'all need to stand up for each other on the bus. And so when this happened, he tells me, "What are you gonna do?" I just blacked out, bro. I punched him without even. I feel like I lost control of my body. I punched him and he fell down on the floor, and he left crying. And he had a big old black eye. Obviously, I got in trouble for it and everything like that. But he stopped. He left us alone.
Yeah, bro, that's exactly what I mean. So what I mean by that is to stop the bullying to you specifically, right? Not to solve that guy's issues. That guy's, he's gonna keep bullying whether it's you or somebody else. But to kind of get that person to leave you alone, I think the best answer is to stand up to him and if physically possible, fight him if you have to, right? He's gonna back off after that. You're gonna earn his respect, right? Especially if you beat his ass, he's not gonna fuck with you anymore.
Yeah, him and his brother follow me on Instagram and the podcast on Instagram. I wonder if they watch it, and I wonder if they're gonna listen to this. But they would, they remember me. They're actually friends with my uncle and stuff like that, so they remember the story. Dang, where was I? What were you just talking about right now?
To get him to back off.
Yeah, you see, I would never promote violence to fix anything. My rule is avoid violence unless it's a must, right? Like, that should be the last thing you should do. But when push comes to shove, if you have to defend yourself, get it done.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
Because in that case, this guy was the bully, right? He was picking on the other little kids. I took matter in my own hands. I knocked him out, and then I got suspended.
Hey, you knocked him out?
He felt like he didn't go night,
So
but
his eyes rolled back, and the ref waved it off and everything, or what?
TKO.
Or you telling me he just fell? Because now you're
He
changing
fell.
the story.
Nah, he died.
Nah, I knocked his head off. I don't know what.
Oh man. No, yeah, but here's kind of what I want to bridge this off to. I kind of want to talk about temperaments and how people handle and tolerate bullying a little bit differently. And I wanted to have somebody with a different temperament than you and I, because I feel like you and I are very tough-skinned. I call it pig-skin. We're very pig-skinned. We have tough skin. Nothing really bothers us, and it's kind of because we know kind of what we're talking about this whole podcast is we know that the people that try to bully other people are hurt deep down inside. So it doesn't really bother us. It's like, bro, you're hurting a little bit more than what I am. So, you're not really offending me. Yeah. But there's obviously people out there that allow people's words or
hurt them.
actions to hurt them. And I wanted to have somebody on, and hopefully I can get them on next week, discuss this and how they handle bullying, right? Because it's very easy for you and I to say, who cares? Just forget about what they're saying. But for other people, it's not so easy. So some other people, they take criticism very heavy.
Yeah,
and
man.
me personally, I don't know. I can't speak on that because I don't go through that. I can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. People take words in general differently, right? Like I know for me, like I know this is kind of off topic, but just in the sense that people take words differently. Like if you tell me I can't do something, it's gonna only motivate me to do it more, right? But I know someone that's completely opposite, and I never believed them. I'd be like, because right, I'm thinking their mind works like mine, right? So I'm gonna tell them you can't do that. Like you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna lose that weight. You're not gonna be healthy, whatever, right? You can't do that. And they literally were like, why are you putting me down? Like, what's going on? Like, you're only discouraging me. And that makes me not want to do it now. And I'm like, really? Like, that's how you take it? Like, you don't, that doesn't motivate you more? And they're like, no, that just makes me not want to try at all. And I'm like, oh, so not everyone is like you and I, where we take things and make them into positives or, whatever it may be. And so, yeah, you have to be careful with that, man, because not everyone responds to words the same.
You said it perfectly, bro. I 100% agree with that. I tweeted this out the other day where I was like, having doubters, there's power behind having doubters, but that really applies to only people like us, right? Like, for me personally, it's dangerous for my growth to have everybody around me believe that I'm going to achieve what I'm going to do. It's dangerous for me because I have nobody to prove wrong. I need to have some doubters in my life, but not everybody's like that. Not everybody's like me. Some people need a full support system.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it, right? I get it, but I don't get it because obviously that's not who I am. But I study a lot of psychology and philosophers very recently, and I've learned enough in the past couple of years to know that not everybody thinks like I do. And so I need to handle situations case by case. And so I think it's perfect that you brought that up because, like you said, it's very important to understand that not everybody's going to take things the same way. So I believe that you shouldn't be giving people harsh criticism unless you know their tolerance.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the perfect example is if I don't know somebody, I don't know anything about them, I have no right to go over there and tell them that you need to toughen up.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of bullying, right? Like, I don't know you like that. Who am I to say that you should be living a certain way? That's not my place. But now let's say someone like you, who I'm fairly close with, I see you kind of messing up. Maybe you dabbed into alcohol, gambling, drugs, or whatever it is. And I come up to you, tell you like, hey, bro, you need to get your shit straight. You need to shapen up. You need to do all these things because you're going down a rabbit hole that you're not going to be happy about, right? But I know you, and I know that your tolerance is heavy. And obviously there's a balance. I think those are two extremists, right?
Yeah.
But I think that you have to really be careful. Like, let's say your coworkers or your friends or acquaintances, you have to be very careful about taking criticism case by case.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do, right? Because there's a lot of things that maybe you do that you think is very constructive to somebody, but they might take it as bullying.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like right. you and I speak to each other very harshly, and it doesn't bother us because we know our what's the word you said?
Tolerance?
Our tolerance. Yeah, we know we could say, I could literally call you a dumbass or anything I want, right? But I know that I'm not being serious. Like, you could take it. A lot of people aren't like that, and I think it's very important to communicate that with people around you, right? People, especially people that you come to for advice and stuff like that. Let them know, like, hey, man, like, I don't I need you to support me or I need you to doubt me, because you and I both know that if we doubt each other, that's just gonna make us want, you know, even more. So it's very important to communicate the type of person you are, for sure.
100%. I have this one situation that happened recently, and this person listens to the podcast, so I hope that they're listening to this. But I had got like an anonymous message for one of the Q&As saying, why do you pick on me, or why do you not like me? And it's obviously not true,
Uh-huh.
but for me, especially at this level of my life, I don't speak to anybody that I really don't like. I have that luxury of like, okay, like, not that I go around disliking everybody, but if there's somebody that I just don't want to be around, I just won't be around them, right? So like if I joke with people or pick on them in a jokingly manner, it's because I actually like you. That's just the kind of, how I get along, especially with males.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Some people will say that's very toxic, yeah, but that's how we are, man. But it's again, it's a tolerance thing, right? Once you get to know that person, you know what they can take and can't take. So yeah, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. That's basically everything that I had on that topic. I kind of want to dab a little bit about fat shaming, since I had mentioned it on my stream the other night.
Wow.
What did? Because that kind of
Yeah, that's
know.
perfect. I mean, fat shaming, for instance, a lot of people think that's a bad thing, right? But for me, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I used to be super overweight. I wish I had pictures so I could show you guys, or I probably do, but it's too much trouble. So yeah, I mean, all my life growing up, I was overweight. I was always an overweight kid, and I would get fat shamed for it, right? But it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because if I got coddled and loved and was told that I'm perfect the way I am, I would have never got healthy and lost weight and been into fitness if I was just willing to accept those ideas. Instead, I got all my friends telling me I'm a fat ass, this and that, and it made me motivated to change my life. Because at the end of the day, right, sure, it kind of hurts your feelings, right? Everyone's calling you fat. But you go home, you look in the mirror, and you say, they're right. They're 100% right. They're not lying. Sure, it's a little harsh, but they're not lying. And so the way my brain works is, okay, well, now I want to do something about it, because I take all those comments as fuel, and now I'm using that fuel to change my life and to change the things I don't like about myself. And so I fat shaming is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. But again, not everyone works like that. So you have to be very careful with what you say and to who you say it to, for sure.
Yeah, case by case, right? And that's why I think it's a very delicate situation. Like, I don't completely support the people that say bullying, nobody should ever bully. Like, you should take that completely out of the equation, because I do believe that is for someone. If you were to go to the Navy SEAL training, guess what those lieutenants are going to do to you?
Bully you.
That can be considered bullying, right? But that's something that needs to happen, because why? We need to know that the people that are in that position can handle that type of verbal warfare, all this tormentation going on, right? I think there's a place for bullying. Bullying is it's a delicate balance. Like, there's a very thin line to tip the scale, right? I don't think it's gonna be something that is ever gonna be handled 100%.
No.
Right? I think, again, it all comes down to the household and you teaching the kids, the next generation, that you're gonna receive some type of bullying in your lifetime, but just know that this is why. Boom, boom, boom. The people doing it are insecure. They're accommodating for this and that. Don't take it too hard. Just know you have people that love you, and you have supporters and blah blah blah. Things like that. But yeah, going back to the fat shaming. Recently, when I lost the 32 pounds that I was holding on to,
Yeah.
So generously, right?
How heavy were you? Like two what?
40?
240, bro. And you're like 5'4", or what are you?
Don't listen to this clown.
You're five five
Uh,
nine.
yeah, 5'9". And so I remember when I announced that this in the beginning of this year, I was gonna shed the weight off, and I was gonna do a program called 75 Hard to help me do that. And my sister-in-law, who I'm very close with, I see her as like my blood sister practically, and she's like, "You really think you can do it? Like, do you think like?" She's like, "I know you've done it before, but do you really think you got it in you to do it again?" And that fueled me so much. You have no idea. Like, part of it when I was going through it was like, oh, that's what I needed. Because everybody believed it. Every time I would say like, okay, like next week I'm gonna start and I'm gonna start eating clean. I'm gonna do this, and that, and everybody like, yeah, you can do it. You've done it before. And I was just so complacent. I just needed one person to doubt me or just question if I was able to do it or not. And I told myself, hell yeah, I've done cut phases like 3 or 4 times in my past where I've got shredded the abs and everything. I can do this again. I just needed some motivation. I needed somebody to doubt me and tell me, you can't do this. All right, bet. Check it out. I'm about to, in the next 75 days, that's all it took for me to be dedicated and, dedicate myself, all my time and energy to just my body, and it got me there. But I needed that doubter. Maybe somebody might identify that as bullying. I don't know, but not me. I needed that.
Yeah, like someone else could have easily took that question as like, oh, they're right. I can't. Can I do this? No, I can't do this. But that's a cool thing about doing it once. Once you do it once, you have what it takes to, like, oh, it wasn't that hard. All I had to do was stay consistent. That's all it really is. And once you know you can do that, you can do it whenever you want at the flip of a switch. And all it took was her questioning you to flip that switch completely, and that was it. You were hooked. So fat shaming obviously is not a good thing, especially to strangers. If you don't know them, right, don't do it, right? But if you know the person and you know how their mind works, like if I know Roger, right, and if he gains some weight, I know him well enough to be like, hey, you're fat as fuck, dude. You got to lose some weight, and and I know he's gonna be like, damn, he's right, and it's gonna get him going into that process of reaching his goals. So you just have to know who you're talking to. Don't do that to strangers. Fat shaming the strangers is not good. Not good at all.
Especially the keyboard warriors that do it over the internet, right? You
Yeah, I know.
start,
To people they've never even met before, just random people, just you're fat as fuck, like for no reason. Don't do that.
It's crazy because these people might think that they're doing right, and maybe they are, right? Like maybe they're trying to push the agenda of people should live a healthier lifestyle. But that's not the way to go about it. If you want people to live a healthier lifestyle, show them what you're doing. Maybe make some content, post some content about how you carry yourself. And then people will admire that and maybe want to do it. But shaming somebody else to try to prove your point is definitely not the way to go.
Yeah, 100%.
My opinion on fat shaming, it goes the same way with bullying. I believe that fat shaming, there is a place for it, but it's a very delicate case-by-case scenario. And you need to know, who you can do it to and who you can't.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%.
Because I used to be a trainer, and I was that stubborn person that thought everybody thought like me. I just needed to be rough on them, and blah 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 blah. And it was like I started losing clients. It's like,
man.
Those people are weak. They're never gonna be successful. And me trying to accommodate for maybe I wasn't the best trainer. I try to make up for it by saying, no, just that person doesn't got it in them. But it wasn't that. It was just that I was an inexperienced trainer that didn't know that people handle things differently.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, and then you see it, right? Like I see that all the time, specifically with trainers. Like some are encouraging and some are like, come on, you fucking pussy, like one more rep, right? And it's the same person but with two different clients because they take the time to get to know that person and realize what they need, not what they want but what they need, right? And that's the sign of a good coach, a good trainer, in my opinion. But yeah,
Here's the interesting thing on that. So you kind of mentioned how, there was a trainer that was very tough and a trainer that was a little bit more, comforting. Do you think that that's a good thing that we might have options, or would you rather just, because the thing is we're not gonna have perfect trainers across the board, right? Where everybody's great at adapting and realizing that people handle things different. I think there's good to having options, right? This trainer is a hard ass and he's going to be on your ass and maybe you don't handle that too well. Okay, go find another trainer that's a little bit more comforting, or vice versa. You have a comforting trainer and he's always patting you on the back and you don't need that. You need something a little bit harder. You can go find a trainer that does that. I think that's a healthy thing too, is that we have options. And that's kind of like with friends too, right? Is like, okay, like my friends don't even like me. They're always bullying me. Okay, go get some new friends that are a little bit more comforting. I don't know. That's something interesting to mention.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because I do like hanging around people that are gonna throw shots at me and I could throw shots at them because yeah, I mean, I don't want yes men, that's just me personally. Some people like that, not me. I want people that I could speak to with honesty and just know that they're gonna take it and not be offended. A lot of people are offended nowadays with what you say, even if it's true. Like if I was fat and you called me fat, sure, it might be a little rude, right? But at the end of the day, you're right. You're right. You're not telling a lie. It might be a little rude, like I said, but it's the truth. So, you just gotta take it and do something about it. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, 100%. I only befriend people who are tough-skinned that can handle, because I'm a very sarcastic person too. So a lot of the things that I say are very satirical, and so I only befriend people that can handle those type of conversations. I only befriend people that can handle maybe touchy topics or personal topics. All the other people, I kind of just, what's the word? I'm cordial with, they're acquaintances, but the people that I have very near and dear to me can handle scrutiny. They can handle me talking crap to them. They will talk crap back to me. They'll call me out on my BS. I can call them out on their BS. That's the type of people that I like around me. I like the people that don't require me to like, how can I explain this? They don't ask a lot from me, right? There's not what's the word for it? I don't know the word for it, but basically the attachment isn't so strong. Where I talked about one of my friends, we had stopped talking for a year for no reason, and then we got, we started talking again like if nothing ever happened. A lot of people would hold a grudge against somebody like that. Like, why did you just, stop talking to me? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, there wasn't a commit. Like, we don't have that type of commitment to each other. It's like, hey, we're friends and we met later on in life and we picked it back up. That's cool. That's the type of friends that I like to engage with.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have went through phases like that too, where we don't talk for months, and then it hasn't happened in a while, but we've done that before for sure. But yeah, I mean, back to bullying. I feel like a lot of people are going to disagree with us on that, on the fact that we say fat shaming has a place for people. But I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to know what you guys think, right? Because I feel like more people think the opposite of what we think. I feel like especially your audience would disagree and would say like, nah, like you shouldn't fat shame and stuff like that. Again, I think it has a place. You just got to know for who.
Yep. I think to conclude this conversation, the last thing that I would repeat is that I think there's a place for it, and it is to be handled case by case. And do not assume that everybody thinks like you, and understand that there is a learning curve to all of this. So,
Yes, sir.
you got anything else you want to mention, brother?
Just check out the Outlier podcast, guys. It would mean a lot to me. Me and Roger upload once a week on that channel, and it's very relaxed conversation. It's not so serious all the time. We mess around a lot, talk about aliens, drugs,
Show feet.
yeah, show feet, all types of weird stuff on there. And you guys need to help me with creating a embarrassing task for Roger, because I still have a you owe me from him. So we're gonna get him to do something embarrassing. Let me know some ideas. That way we can get that rolling. But yeah, just check out the Outlier podcast on YouTube, and that's it.
Okay, before we head out, guys, I want to read one comment. There was this kid in my class that everybody bullied because he had a neck problem. He was once the nicest person, and just last year he passed away from cancer. Well, that's a very sad ending.
Sad. Yeah.
But you see, something like that's kind of odd, right? Here's what I don't like. I don't like people making fun of other people about things that they cannot change, that they don't have control over.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's say somebody has a shorter limb and you start making fun of that person. It's like, dang, bro, why do you want to laugh?
Because, bro, I laugh at fucked up shit. So the fact you knew you were gonna get me with that one, bro. You did that on purpose, guys. He set that up. He knows I laugh at inappropriate things.
Bro, you think that's funny?
No, I don't. I think you're funny. Timmy Turner. Wish you had a burner.
Crazy, bro. That's crazy.
But yeah,
okay, so
I agree with you on that. I don't think you should make fun of people that can't change something, right? Like fat shaming, you could change, right? You could change.
Yes.
You can't change the fact that you were born different. You just can't change that. What are you smiling at?
I'm the chat, bro. They're going crazy right now.
Go ahead.
No, but yeah, so you agree, right, that you shouldn't be making fun of, or but would you say that laughing at that is a part of that?
A part of what?
Making fun of somebody?
No,
Maybe that has a shorter limb.
No, I don't think so. Because if you keep it to yourself, I don't see the problem with that. Because I laugh at the most messed up things, bro. Like I'd be canceled if you guys knew what I laughed at every day.
I think that's exposure to the internet, bro. I think that we're very numb to a lot of the stuff. Like, go on the internet. Go on the internet. You're seeing people getting run over.
Yeah,
people's heads getting chopped off.
Think about how many times we've seen mass shooting in this area, and we don't even react anymore. We're just like, damn, another one. Like we're desensitized 100%. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all so much. Like I always say, if you're new to the podcast, again, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and almost anywhere else that you can find podcasts. If you want to pitch a topic, maybe feature, if you're a sponsor trying to reach out, the best way to contact us is through Instagram, being The Real Common Podcast. Also, check out my second podcast, which Saul is actually the host of, and that is called The Outlier Podcast, and you can find him on Instagram as well. Maybe contact him, pitch a topic. You can, he posts on there as well. So go check him out. All the links will be in the description. And lastly, go check out the Twitch. The Twitch is always lit. We're live about 4 days out of the week. So thank you all so much, and we'll catch y'all in the next episode. Peace out.